Hello. Well, Justice maybe is coming, but it's stalled out on the 405, needs a jump start, something. How's it going?
Yeah. Good morning, Steph. Justice is 2 steps up, 1 step back.
Yep.
And,
Yeah.
this week was a step back week.
Yeah. Well, can we focus on the good for a minute? The nomination of Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson, who is serving on the U.S. District Court of Appeals in D.C. I'm sure you know of her, but I was actually rooting for this pick because from everything I've heard, she's just fantastic. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, that's not a good pick. That's a great pick. It for every conceivable reason, including the fact that, and you don't want to go right to race and say that, she is the first African-American woman who will sit on the highest court of the land, which is a big flippin' deal.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I want to go to race because all of the candidates that President Biden was considering were African-American women. He made that pledge, and I welcomed and applauded that pledge. Why? Because until today, African-American young girls who might be thinking about going to law school could be told, even you could sit as a Supreme Court justice on the highest court of the land, and that would not resonate as true. Well, guess what? Now that will resonate as true for a whole population. And so I welcome it. And, especially because you can't find a better appellate court judge and now Supreme Court justice than Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson.
Yeah. Yep. So you tweeted New York prosecutors handling Trump Organization criminal investigation resign, reportedly in a protest over DA Alvin Bragg's concerns about indicting Donald Trump. You keep asking every week here, who's going to take the maiden legal voyage against Trump? Well, it appears not Alvin Bragg, although he denies report he's not pursuing the Trump case, has tapped a new prosecutor. Please tell us what the actual F you think is going on here.
So a couple of things. Justice took a hit, I believe, because you had 2 longtime prosecutors in Pomerantz and Dunn, which sounds like the name of a 70s one-hit wonder band.
Yeah.
Pomerantz and Dunn. But, you had 2 serious prosecutors who for years have been dedicated to holding accountable the Trump Organization, Alan Weisselberg, and we all thought Donald Trump. And for those, so anytime there's a new district attorney who comes in, just like when a new U.S. attorney, I worked under 10 of them at the D.C. U.S. Attorney's Office, a new U.S. attorney comes in, there's going to be turnover, there's going to be a little upheaval, there's going to be new priorities and new focus announced, and some people may decide to move on to other jobs or other organizations. But this doesn't feel right, and it doesn't smell right to me. When you have an indictment that has already been handed down against the Trump Organization for a 15-year criminal scheme to defraud in the first degree, and the top executive, Alan Weisselberg, for the same charge, and somehow the Manhattan DA's office can't get the goods on Donald Trump, who ran that organization like a dictator, that makes no sense to me. So I am not going to impugn Alvin Bragg's integrity or his motives because I don't know what they are. But what we see now, I think late yesterday, they were backing up and saying, whoa, 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 I've appointed somebody else, a woman named Susan Hoffinger, who, yes, was Manhattan ADA for 8 years back in 1992 through 2000. And then she's been in private practice for 22 years, probably making considerable money. And now he brings her back. Well, I hate to go cynical, Steph, but I'd like to know what kind of money she donated to Alvin Bragg. I'd like to know her bona fides after 22 years in private practice to all of a sudden come back and lead the 25 assistant district attorneys who are investigating Trump and company. This is a story that we're going to have to keep our eye on and see what's really going on.
And I know Alvin Bragg's a rookie, and you're like, does he just not have the spine for this? Like, I mean, again, he's saying this report's not true and we're moving forward, but I just, okay. All right, yeah, you said, you tweeted, sometimes on the justice front, it's 2 steps up, 1 step back. We've got to keep moving forward. We've got to keep fighting because #justice matters. Yeah. I know it was a tough week. I don't know if you saw this other one. Just wanted to get your take. Trump will not be investigated by the Federal Elections Commission for alleged campaign finance violation in which he used $2.8 million in charitable donations to veterans for political purposes. The FEC let Trump off the hook by voting to close the case despite an opinion from the commission's legal counsel saying Trump broke the law. Okay, so he funneled roughly half of the almost $6 million raised at a Des Moines veterans event to his now defunct Donald Trump Foundation, the now defunct Trump Foundation. The Trump campaign then steered the foundation, a separate entity, nearly $3 million in charitable funds just ahead of the Iowa Republican caucuses. One expert said the commission's nonpartisan career attorneys found reason to believe the foundation was illegally used to benefit Trump's presidential campaign. Oh my God, Glenn! What? I mean. Yeah. What is the deal? Go ahead.
Here's the only spin I can put on that, and this is self-proclaimed spin, right?
Yeah.
Let me tell you, if I were heading up a criminal investigation of Donald Trump as, somebody in the Department of Justice, you know what I would say to all other jurisdictions and all other agencies that were investigating Donald Trump? Please don't bring charges because we've got this. We need to take point and we need to retain control over the universe of possible witnesses, possible evidence, and possible charges to be brought against Donald Trump. That's the way I would run the organization. And I would coordinate with New York. That's a separate sovereign from the feds. I would coordinate with Georgia, also a separate sovereign. I couldn't tell them what to do, but I would work cooperatively with them toward the common goal of holding a former criminal president accountable. I hope that's what's going on, but I can't say that's what's going on.
Two interesting tweets of yours I actually wanted to ask you about. You said Trump's loss in civil court case provides roadmap for DOJ to follow in criminally indicting Donald Trump for the insurrection. That's one. And then you said New York Judge Arthur, whoever he is, wrote in his ruling that NYAG Letitia James' investigation of Trump org uncovered copious evidence of possible financial fraud. This Trump problem is not going away. Mm-hmm. So explain that. I mean, all we know out here from LA and is OJ is there's a different level, for criminal or civil. So Letitia James is looking at the same stuff, right?
Exactly.
But it has a lower bar because it's civil. Can you explain that to us?
Yes. If this development on the New York District Attorney's front with two prosecutors resigning was good for Trump, the couple of stories that you just referenced were like bad for Trump on steroids. And here's why. Judge Mehta, a federal judge in D.C., a former public defender in the courts of Washington back when I was a prosecutor, so he knows his way around justice on both sides of the equation, defense and prosecution, and now on the bench. He said, and I quote, Donald Trump's speech on January 6th was the essence of civil conspiracy. That is a serious federal judge announcing, here is the roadmap for prosecuting Donald Trump for inciting an insurrection. Now, admittedly, that was in the context of a civil case, and he refused to dismiss the civil suit brought against Donald Trump for inciting the insurrection. But the principles are universal when it comes to a conspiracy to incite an insurrection. Yeah. So that's a really important statement by a federal judge.
But that's what I'm saying. Interesting that it might be the civil cases, whether it's January 6th or his financial, crimes in New York. It might be the civil cases that get him and not the criminal, which is
right.
Ironic.
Judge Engoron up in New York said, I reviewed thousands of documents. This comes out of his ruling in the Letitia James subpoena battle. I reviewed thousands of documents, and the Attorney General's investigation has, quote, uncovered copious evidence of possible financial fraud. Now, I'm a Jersey guy. I don't use big words like copious. I would say tons of frickin' fraud, right?
Yes.
And that's what a New York judge said, and that's an informed opinion, because in his opinion, he said, I reviewed thousands of documents that have been subpoenaed by Tish James. These are hugely ominous signs for Donald Trump. Yeah. So we are still generally heading in the right direction. The investigative circle still tightens around Donald Trump, though it loosened up a little bit with the New York District Attorney story.
So we need some Jersey justice.
Yeah.
Real quick, just two silver linings again. The former Minneapolis police officers have all been found guilty of failing to render aid as they watched George Floyd slowly get suffocated by Minneapolis cop Derek Chauvin. The officers also face trial on charges they aided and abetted Chauvin. So that was a good news for justice, at least one ruling, right?
Steph, when we look at both Ahmaud Arbery and his family have received accountability, I'm not going to call it justice, but they've received accountability both from a state jury and from a federal jury. And now the same thing has happened with the George Floyd murder and George Floyd's family. They've now received accountability from a state jury and the federal jury in a civil rights case. These are consequential developments. Hopefully, this is a sign of things to come by holding folks accountable for violating the civil rights of our brothers and sisters.